So the other day I had taken my drag car El Camino to a car show, and I was walking along the aisles just enjoying my time when I noticed there's a parent and a child. As they're walking up the row, they're looking at a rather rough duster. The dad looks down at the car and says to his son, "Someday that car will be worthy of being here at a car show." To me, that rubbed me the wrong way because that rough car could potentially be a lot of fun. And that stuck with me just a little bit because I personally would rather look at the little bit more rough car because every dent tells a story. Every scar shows that it's had a life well lived. To me, I would rather go out there and have the slightly rough car, or a little rough car, or rough car, let's be honest, and have fun with it as opposed to having something that I'm so hyper worried about every little rock chip, every little imperfection, every little door ding. I want to be able to take my cars and enjoy them. And if I'm constantly worried about what's going to happen to the cars, then it kind of takes some of the fun out of it, don't you think? You may ask, "Eric, what do you know about having a nice car? Your El Camino's half primer." Yes, I understand that. My father has this absolutely beautiful 1965 Buick Riviera. I've had the opportunity to be able to bring that car back to roadworthy condition. I am honored to have been able to bring that piece of rolling American artwork back to life. But therein is the problem. The car is exactly nice enough that it makes you think just a little bit before you drive it. It's so good that it's like, man, I don't want to do anything that would put this car in danger. Whereas something like this, something happens to it, no big deal. I'll fix it. Many years ago, I took my El Camino to another car show. This was just a local cruise-in. My dad was taking his bright yellow 64 Buick Special. Both of our cars get drag raced. Unbeknownst to us, 5 other guys that all raced were bringing their cars that night. 2 of them arrived on trailers. They were open header, not street legal. One of the other guys was coming in with his toy car, not his race car. The other 2 showed up in race trim just like we were. Rubber on the quarter panels, whole 9 yards. And it was rather interesting to see some of the avid car show attendees. Some of the people that were there regularly attending and displaying their cars. They kind of viewed us as the rough and rowdy outcasts. And you know something? It actually had a fair bit of clout because we drew a crowd very quickly around our cars that were a bit rough. And you know something? It was really, really cool because we had people asking us about every scar. My dad's 64 Buick is a bit of a street brawler kind of look, and the open-headed white Nova with flames, really cool car, had pictures with the nose in the air pulling a big wheelie on launch. Those kinds of things grew a crowd. And as I'm walking around just enjoying the evening, there was a 1968 Camaro. I remember it vividly. It was bright red. It was a small block with a 671 blower on it. And I made a comment of, "Hey, you ever thought about racing this car?" He says, "Oh no, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't want to break it." I says, "Hey, I'll put my 13.5 second El Camino up against your Camaro. Let's see who wins." He goes, "Oh no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't break this." And it was in that moment that I realized that the imperfection that is my car made it so much more appealing to me because I wasn't afraid to climb over the fenders and work on this thing. I'm not afraid to drive it. I wasn't afraid to do anything with this car. That in and of itself is automotive freedom. Now to address the comment of, "I don't want to break the car." I get it. There are times where you don't have the funds or space to be able to work on it if we break it. I can understand that. I'm also of the mindset that if I break something, I'm going to build it back better than it ever was from the factory. There's a reason the 7.5-inch 10-bolt in this car got thrown over there in the corner, and it now has a bulletproof 12-bolt in the back. Because I've blown that 7.5-inch 10-bolt up enough times that it was time to upgrade it to something much more stout. And now I have something in the car that should carry it well into the 9-second range from where I'm sitting. And that's another interesting thing. If a car is perfect and done, there's no projects left to do. That's kind of half the fun is working on these cars, isn't it? If I run out of projects to do, man, I got a problem. This makes me sound like I'm against perfect, nicely done cars. And I'm not. They have their place. They are absolutely beautiful. You want one? Great. Go for it. Someday, I may have one. But I knew another guy, simply went by Mr. Cox. Nice guy. He was an old guy when I knew him. That was 20 years ago. He had a black 1938 Chevrolet car. I don't even know what it was. Nobody really knew by that point. It was his first car. He bought it when he was like 14, 15. And the first thing he did, he took the interior out. Him and his friends thought the car would look darn good with the body channeled over the frame 6 inches. So they were cutting the car apart. Mr. Cox's dad came home, Mr. Cox, and said, "You boys have ruined this car." Well, about a week later, the 38 Chevy was back driving under its own power with a little bit more low-slung kind of persona. Now, he had been working on this car for more than 60 years at the time I knew him. That car, absolute beauty, because he was not afraid to take the steps to cut the thing apart and continue to work on it. One day the car shows up and it's half in pieces. It's missing parts that are, used to be absolutely beautiful black, and now they're wearing primer. And someone says, "Hey, Mr. Cox, what'd you do?" He says, "I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to French in that vent just a little bit more than it was, so I just dove into it." About a month later, car's back at the car show wearing the most beautiful black I've ever seen. So good you could shave in the paint on that car. That car was allowed to be perfect because it had earned it. It had earned it, and the owner was not afraid to cut into it at a moment's notice because he wanted to make it different or better than it was before. Man, I wish I had pictures of that car. That thing was an absolute beauty. It was allowed to be absolute perfection because it had been on a journey for more than 60 years to achieve that level that it was at. 60 years of continuous improvement made that car the absolute showstopper that it was. And you know something? Mr. Cox was very willing to drive the thing. I saw him put the rears up in smoke more than once. It was a freaking cool car. Sometimes you meet the coolest people when you're working with old cars. My dad was driving his 1965 Buick Riviera, just going to the grocery store to pick something up. He met a guy by the name of Floyd. That was all we knew him by, was Floyd. He had a yellow 63 Riviera. Same body style, couple of different changes. Floyd spotted the Riviera rolling into the parking lot and chased my dad down. My dad thought that he had a stalker coming after him, this funny old guy who was chasing him down. He goes, "I got a 63 Riviera. It's right there across the parking lot," which we couldn't see at the time. And we walk over and darn it, Floyd's got a 63 Riviera. From that moment forward, we had a friend that was also running a Riviera. Now, Floyd had the opportunity to come across actress Shirley Jones of the Partridge Family. Actress Shirley Jones had a convertible 65 Buick Wildcat. Beautiful car also. Floyd had managed to come into ownership of this car, and he had documentation signed by Shirley Jones. Floyd's thought about this car for a little while. It was a little rough when it got to him, and he thought, this car is worth preserving because of the history that it has. Floyd spent the time to restore the car with some tasteful modifications, the resto mod kind of thing. But he didn't restore it to perfection. He restored it to a condition that he wasn't afraid to drive the car, enjoy it, and bring joy to everyone around him. People were always, "Oh, that's actress Shirley Jones' car. Yeah, you want to sit in it? Actress Shirley Jones drove this car. She touched that steering wheel." He did some things that made sure that that car's character was kept intact. And if Floyd had restored that Wildcat to absolute perfection, those stories, those things would have been lost. By keeping the car more as it had been used, it was more of a conversation piece. It was more interesting to everyone around it. So keeping it away from absolute perfection made the car a lot more enjoyable, a lot more interesting, and had way more stories to tell. Sometimes that perfect car is a little unapproachable, whereas the more rough car is more interesting. If you're going to walk up to two cars, which one do you feel more comfortable leaning on the fender on? Something that looks like this, or something that's absolutely perfect? The approachability of having a car that's got some character to it makes it a lot easier to enjoy. Plus, there's a lot of relatability points. Your car may have some quirks or gremlins that someone else's car may also have. And you know something? Those relatability points create the community that create, it gives us the opportunity to get together as car guys and learn something and work on our cars together. So having the imperfect car makes it easier to enjoy. You're less worried about it and creates more of a community. Oh, I don't see a drawback to this, do you? Besides, if something happens to my slightly rough car on the road and I have to fix it and I get a belt buckle scratch on it, not the end of the world. Sometimes the little bit rougher makes it a lot easier to work on. Personally, the imperfect car is way more fun than a perfect car. True joy comes from using a car, not putting it in a garage, tucking it away and never touching it or looking at it. True joy comes in from using the car, for what it's meant to be. Whether you roll into a car show with 5 of your racing buddies, dial-in still on the window, rubber on the quarter panels, that's kind of half the fun. Or if you're building a car and you're in a constant cycle of build, improve, drive, build, improve, drive, like Mixter Cox's 38 Chevy, or even Floyd's car, either his Riviera or his Wildcat convertible. By preserving the history makes it a lot more interesting and more fun to drive. Sometimes there are things that are worth more preserving than making absolutely perfect. I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Tell me about your imperfect car. Tell me about the experiences you've had along the way. Tell me about the fun that you're able to have by getting out there and using your cars. Thanks for joining me here, guys. If you're interested, check out this video over here. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.